Welcome everyone. Can you hear me? All right, so it's after lunch, and what we need to do is we need to make sure the people in the other rooms know about Twilio CLI. So let's start with a chant. I say Twilio, you say CLI, okay? Let's see how it goes. Twilio! CLI. Twilio! CLI. Twilio! CLI. All right, that's perfect. All right, welcome everyone. I'm Ashley Roach. I'm the product manager on Twilio CLI. This is Elmer Thomas, and Elmer is an awesome engineer on that project as well. So we're really happy to be here today. You saw some of the flavors of Twilio CLI this morning. And so what we want to do is go a little deeper and give you more about the Twilio CLI. The drama. Is it up there? It's not. Well, next slide, please. Cool. Is it showing a picture of Twilio? Okay. So for some of you who may have worked with Twilio since 2009, maybe recognize this website. And so this was actually the original website for Twilio in 2009. I went back in the Internet Archive and literally went like week by week trying to figure out what was the first one. And this is it. So it's pretty cool. Ever since the company was launched, Jeff mentioned we have the console, and we have a great console experience that allows you to do lots of powerful things with the CLI. With Twilio. And those kinds of things are like looking at message logs, doing debugging, taking a look at buying phone numbers. All those kinds of things can be done through the CLI. I'm really triggered on CLI. Through the console. Now, the other way, historically, we've been able to interact with Twilio is through APIs. And APIs are very powerful. A lot of us are developers, but not everyone is a developer, and not everyone is super comfortable with APIs. And so we heard from you, customers, and intuitively we thought, hey, there's a better way. There's a medium ground that can help people like system administrators, maybe DevOps teams who want to interact with Twilio, but don't obviously have the utility of a console, because you can't click, 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 click. And you maybe don't want to write so much code. And so what we're doing is we've introduced the Twilio CLI. And we're really, really excited about it. And we're happy that you've joined us today to actually learn more about it. So for those of you who might be like, CLI, what's that? The CLI stands for Command Line Interface. And the command line interfaces have been around for a long time. Ever since the early days of computing, you had the blinking cursor. And the blinking cursor to some people is like, what do I do? But we've tried to make it really easy, and we try to make it so that everyone can use Twilio now from a terminal environment. And so it looks like this. We have a set of commands that represent different types of features that we expose over our APIs and things that we've made even easier by not just going directly against the API. So why would you use the CLI? So one reason is maybe you want to do some batch purchasing of phone numbers. You could do that through the CLI. Perhaps you want to view your message history and call history. You can do that through the CLI. Maybe you want to deploy Twilio functions. You saw today, copy-paste could be the way that you've had to do this ever since today. And now you can do it right at the command line within your project. So that is super, super exciting. And then finally, we have the ability to take the debugger, the information that's displayed in the debugger, and bring that to you within the console experience itself, terminal experience. So what do we actually provide here within the CLI? So we have all the Twilio APIs that are publicly available exposed under that API command, that root command. And so you'll see Elmer will show some good examples of that. We've made it really easy to do some basic phone number management, especially purchasing phone numbers. So there's a little menu system. It's really awesome. For those of you who may have done a lot of development against our webhooks, you've had to set up ngrok, or you've had other ways of tunneling traffic from the webhooks to your laptop while you're doing development. Well, we make that super easy now by automatically embedding ngrok within the CLI, as well as updating the SMS URL and creating that, that publicly available URL all within the context of the CLI. So logging information, you can bring logging information through the debugger command. And you might have seen one today also called watch. And so we have a special area on GitHub called Twilio Labs. And that's a project that actually Dpro and some others have built. And that makes it a combination of debugging information plus your message log information. You saw the big long commands. Some of the command hierarchy can be long. We recognize that. But you have autocomplete, so tab, and you can go all your way through things. Sub-accounts. Sub-accounts are a great concept, and so we've enabled you to be able to work with sub-accounts within the CLI. I mentioned Twilio Labs. So the plugin framework is a really fantastic aspect of the product. And what that means is you can take your business logic and your business processes and tie those into an extensible framework within the CLI. Twilio Labs is the main place for us to share those with you that we make, but you can build them yourselves. You can share them if you like. We do take pull requests both against the plugins as well as the CLI itself. It is open source. It is in GitHub. And then finally, this project is based on kind of the shoulders of really important partners to us in the open source community. We started with a project called Oakcliff as the framework for building the CLI. And so we want to thank Salesforce and Heroku for putting that in open source. And they've been great partners helping us figure out parts of the project itself. So with that, I'm going to stop with the boring stuff. I'm going to hand it over to Elmer. I did go to Target just a few minutes ago to get the coding gloves for him. They're sold out. I think everyone saw what Jeff did and was like, oh, I got to go get coding gloves. So there you go, man.
Thank you, Ashley. Awesome. First, before I begin, can everyone in the back see my command prompt there? All good? Cool. Awesome. All right, so let's get our hands dirty, so to speak, and see the Twilio CLI in action. Fortunately, no coding gloves, but maybe next time. So the first thing I'm going to do is a couple of one-liners to demonstrate the ease of doing some traditional use cases that you'd probably want to do. Like, for example, you may want to send an SMS via command line. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. And as we mentioned before, one of the cool things is you can tab through and get some autocomplete here. So we're going to go ahead and create a text message. And because I'm bad at remembering phone numbers, I put that behind an environment variable. Bear with me as I type this out. And then we're going to send it to my creatively named Twilio 2 phone number. And what fun is a text message without having a body? So I'm going to say hello from Signal. And then if I hit enter and the demo gods be with me, I should have a text message, which I would like to show you on my phone here. One cool hack that I discovered while creating this demo is that QuickTime actually allows you to mirror your screen. And that's pretty cool, built into the Mac. And so you can see here at 1:53, I had a hello from Signal coming in. So that's the first demo there. So we got something going. And then, so the next thing I want to do, so a little bit of history from me. I came from SendGrid, so email is my jam. And so, of course, I'd want to show you how to do email from the Twilio CLI. Also creatively named email send. And then we're going to do, I'm a little bit better at remembering emails, so I don't have to have an environment variable for that. I'm going to send it from my SendGrid account here, and then send it to my specially crafted Twilio email. And then, all emails need a subject. And we also need a body. And it's just as easy as it was to send an SMS, we can also send email. But also, if you want to get fancy, you can add an attachment as well. In this case, we're not going to add an attachment because I'm not fancy. And boom, it gives me a message saying that, hey, your message was sent, but I don't believe it. I want to actually see and make sure that it actually came. And yep, here it is. So there's the first two quick use cases. One of the things you may want to do as you start using the application, you may want to start seeing maybe a list of the calls and emails from your account. So, for example, if I want to see all of the calls that are in my account, use the list command. And as you can see, I'm old school, well, actually, maybe new school. I don't make a lot of phone calls. But if I were to look at my text messages, similar command here. There's a lot more going on there. So as you can see, when you start looking at the data coming out of your account, you can start scripting things. You can pipe things into other things, and really the power is limitless. It's really cool. Let's see, I have a bunch of stuff here, so maybe what I want to do is do a little filtering. But my memory's not good, so I want to see what's available. So wherever you are inside of the CLI, you can pull up the help and see what kind of options that you have. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and look at date sent, and you may see magically the flags even autocomplete, which is really cool. And say I want to see things 2019 July 15th, and then I'll go ahead and filter. But you say, I want something that's a little bit more scriptable, right? And so let's go ahead and change the output to be JSON. And then you can really start to see the power of being able to get your data in and out of the Twilio ecosystem. You can see here that beautiful text message cost me a whole 0.0075 cents. So pretty cool. And you can see that we return all of the data that you would need in order to do something interesting and programmatic. So now let's go into a little bit more interesting demo. Interesting in the fact that since we're doing it live, it's quite possible it will fail. But let's go ahead and see what we could do with the CI system. So Ashley has set up this repo in GitLab here, and the idea is to show you some of the creative ways you can use the CLI in some ways inside of your tooling. So in this case, we have a CI system that whenever you push and it creates a build, and what we're doing is we're saying, how about if you send in a commit message that has the word provision, we automatically create a sub-user and then buy a phone number, all from the CLI. I think that's pretty cool. It's all automated, and we're going to see if we can actually get it to work. So before we move into it, I'm going to show you the code a little bit. So you can see, similar, you have your CI YML code, and what we're saying here is if we're going ahead and installing the CLI, and then we're running our CLI script. And so the CI script here, what it's doing is it's going through and it's going to find, using the Twilio CLI, the local phone number, and it's going to go ahead and grab the first phone number that it finds. In this case, we're saying, I want a phone number that has area code 209 in the United States. And so once we do that, we're going to go ahead and create a sub-account. So we're going to go ahead and create a friendly named sub-account here, and then we're going to get that account ID, and then we're going to go ahead and buy the phone number and take the first phone number, and then we're going to print out to the CI screen that we actually purchased it. So in order for me to do this, it means that I need to run this command here, actually make a commit. So we're going to do that. And so what I'm doing here is I'm saying I'm doing a commit. It's an empty commit, so we're using the allow empty flag, and we're saying that the message is provision. And so what the CI should do is capture that the word provision is there, and then go ahead, create the sub account, and buy a phone number, all automatically behind the scenes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm super secure, so I have to do this. And then it's going to go ahead and push it up there. And so if we go back to GitLab and we look at the jobs, we can see that we're going to have a new job coming up here. Let me refresh this. So you see this is the job that I'm running now, but I already ran it earlier so that you can see the results. If you look at the So there's all of the installations, and you get down here, you see that the Twilio CLI was installed, and then we ran the script, and we found this phone number, we created this sub-account with this account ID, and then this is the phone number that we actually purchased. And so that phone number will show up in your account. So I think that's pretty cool. You can start to think of some ideas, like maybe you want to have it to where if a certain build ever fails, then maybe you want to get texted. So it just unlocks a lot of opportunities. And of course, because it's the Twilio CLI, you have access to all of the Twilio APIs underneath. So now let's look at working in a typical development environment. So say you're working on an app and you want to do some debugging. So we're going to show how the debugger log works. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a small Node app that when you text it, it texts you back with where that phone number was born, what country it was born. So we're going to do that, and let's see. Oh, my mouse left here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put this code in an error state so that we can catch that in the debugger. So what's happening here in this code is we've set up this small Node app that's listening on port 3000, and we've exposed a SMS endpoint that later we're going to associate to a phone number so that whenever this phone number receives a text message, it's going to hit this endpoint. And we're going to print out to the console where the phone number was born. And then if this wasn't broken, it would send me a text message with that message. But what you'll see now is that it's going to actually print this out to the console, but it's going to kind of fail silently because it's not going to have a way to tell me that I messed up with my header. But using the Twilio CLI, we're going to have a live debugger streaming, and we're going to be able to see that live on the screen. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. So we have our code running here, and then we're going to open up a tunnel that's going to go to it. And again, you may notice that we're doing this also from the CLI, so we didn't have to leave and go to the console to do this. And again, because I don't remember phone numbers, I'm going to put that in there. And then we need to tell it what's the SMS URL. And in this case, it's going to be my local host, that server that we just put up there. It's going to be on port 3000, and it's SMS. And then we're going to go ahead and start this. And what it's going to do is going to create a tunnel, which is super cool because I didn't have to install anything. It just magically happened. So now my computer's open up to the internet to be able to accept those calls. So now if I go ahead and text that message, if I go ahead and text that phone number that I associated there, and I'm just going to text something randomly just to get it going. And then what's going to happen, oh, actually, I'm sorry. I need to actually start the debugger. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So we're going to start the debugger. Debugger logs list, and we're going to set it in streaming mode. And that should come up in a minute. So you can see that, based on my testing already, you already see that there's been some errors there. And if I try to do it again, you should see another error coming through. See, there you go, it says invalid content type. text XM. So that's super helpful. So now I know what happened. If I were to go back to my environment here, I'm just going to see the TWIML output there is not helpful. It didn't tell me that the text message didn't come. So it's really cool to have that debugger running in the background. So now we're going to go ahead and fix it. What good is a broken demo? We want to have a working demo here. So let's go back and let's restart this server. And now, let's go ahead and text it and see what happens. Let me start my QuickTime. Should pop up in a second here. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and pray to the demo gods and see if it actually works. Yeah, looks like your phone number was born in the US, so that's awesome. So that's the CI use case there. And that's not all. We still have some more fun stuff to do here. So now we promised you in the talk that we were going to give you some stupid CLI tricks. So promise going to be delivered. Let's see. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the Pomodoro Technique, but it's literally saved my life as a developer because it's a concept where you set a timer for 25 minutes at a time, and during those 25 minutes, you're pure focus zone. So if somebody's banging on your door, you have complete license to ignore them for those 25 minutes. And then you take a 5-minute break where then you can accept your interruptions, and then you do another Pomodoro for 25 minutes. It comes from the concept of a Pomodoro timer, a kitchen timer. And so what we've built is a fun little test here that's going to send us a message saying, hey, your Pomodoro time is up. So I'm going to show you first what the script looks like. Very simply, it's running the CLI command here. It's sending it from my Twilio number to my personal number, and it's just saying your Pomodoro is over. And this is so in the Mac operating system, there's a special folder called Launch Agents where you can put the equivalent of a cron job in there. So it's just basic XML. In this case, for the purposes of the demo, we've set it to 60 seconds. But as I mentioned, you could set it to 25 minutes. And then the idea is every 60 seconds, it's going to go ahead and run that script. And then you should receive a text message saying, hey, your Pomodoro is over. So in order to make that work, what we need to do is load it. Let me see. I forgot my text expander snippet, so I guess I'm just going to have to type it. And this is the benefits of doing it live. So launch CTL load, and then I'm going to just basically load that that script that I had in the another window there. Launch agents. Okay, cool. One thing to note about this is if you restart your computer, it's going to automatically load. And so I spam myself every minute. And I was like, why is my phone texting me every minute? So if you actually plan to do this on your computer, make sure that you remember to unload it. So you just run the same command, but with the word unload. So while that's cooking, we have one more CLI stupid trick. It's called check CPU. And what it does is it sends you a text message and tells you your current workload happening on your CPU. So the code for that, it's also a small Node app. We're going to run it again on port 3000, and what we're doing is we're using this library called CPU stat that's going to look at my computer and say this is how much percentage that your workload is using, and then we're going to go ahead and text it to myself. And so in order to do that, I first need to shut down the other server and its tunnel, and then we'll go ahead and start this one, check CPU, run that, and then similarly on the tunnel, we are going to do the Twilio phone numbers update, Twilio from phone number, And then we're going to change the SMS URL. In this case, what we did is we have the endpoint is going to be CPU. And then, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is show that working on the phone here. And also you can see I've been texted twice that my Pomodoro is over, because apparently I'm coding in turbo mode right now, and it's very necessary for me to receive those messages. So I'm going to say CPU, and then I was just Pomodoro over again. Oh, actually, I need to, oh, there we go. So my current CPU usage, and you gotta love the decimal precision there, because I really need to know specifically how my CPU is performing. So 11.9%, not too bad. So you see things are going well over in Twilio land. And so that's it for me. If you have any further questions, please visit us in the community hall. We'll love to answer any questions you have. And remember, this is an open source project. We would love to see you participate. If you have any issues, head on over to GitHub, and we'll see you, and can't wait to see what you build.